All right, so welcome back to the channel, everybody. I know I haven't posted a video in like, I guess 10 years, but I want to say that Bethany here is my inspiration for continuing on because, I work at the community college up in, Alexandria, Virginia, and she's on our advisory board and is looking to help us to train students. And so she was like, yeah, why don't we have more women? And I really need them. Like, I need them in my shop. I'm ready to employ them today. And I said, that really inspires me to get back on the YouTube channel and make some videos about some content that's going to help our students, help, women everywhere, right? I mean, you don't have to come to my college to get this information. So it's for everyone. So Bethany, could you tell us a little bit about, yourself, how you got started in automotive?
Sure. So it was completely by accident. I graduated with my bachelor's in foreign languages in 2014 and didn't have anything lined up afterward. So I needed just a job, pay the bills.
Which foreign languages?
Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese.
So are you like fluent today in
I
those
used
languages?
to be. I'm very rusty on them, but I could still write an essay, I'm sure.
That's
a paper.
Really awesome. Okay.
Was planning on being a translator or maybe working for the State Department, but things kind of fell through and I didn't have enough plans after I graduated. So I found a posting on Craigslist for a service writer position at a mechanical shop. They said no experience needed. I applied and they hired me, luckily. They kind of taught me everything of the basics of mechanical repairs. Before that, I had no idea how a car worked, how an engine works, suspension components. I pretty much just knew how to throw it and drive, park, and reverse. That was about it.
Okay, so you learned like on the job, real world
on
training.
The job. First day there, the manager had me pop open the hood of my car and showed me what all the different reservoirs were for the different types of fluids, where my engine was.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Radiator and condenser, things like that. And yeah, by the end of it, the technicians were helping me replace my own brakes, do transmission fluid flushes and AC services on my own vehicle, even spark plugs. So lots of basic repairs and maintenance.
That is so great. Are we allowed to say their name and give them a shout out?
Sure. Okay. It was Cardinal Plaza Shell in Springfield.
I used to work there too.
Yep.
It's a great place.
Great shop.
Yes.
Lots of decorations. They always get in the holiday spirit around Christmas too. And it was a great place to work, but there wasn't an immediate position for me to advance. So after 3 years, I went to the automotive insurance side and I became an auto damage adjuster for Geico.
So you like had some experience on the mechanical side and the collision side.
Yes.
So like that is super rare.
It worked out very nicely actually for this position, especially because after I finished working at the insurance company, I transitioned to the body shop side of it. So I was then involved in the actual collision repairs instead of just negotiating the cost of the repairs.
Oh, getting down into it. I love it. That's so great. So what brought you over to, well, I guess almost back to Cardinal Plaza Shell, right? Because they started this whole business, Level 5 Solutions. You want to tell us a little bit about how that goes?
Scott and Cam, they approached me about opening this new business with them. Cameron was my manager at Cardinal Plaza Shell, and Scott is the owner of that shop. They had kept in contact with me over the years. Cameron had called me asking for advice on ADAS systems since I was familiar with them on a more simple basis from working for insurance and at the body shop.
So you like brought that information to them?
Yes. They approached it from a more mechanical side. Since I have the collision experience, I know how to read and write a body shop estimate, and I know what the struggles that body shops are going through, as well as what the auto insurance adjusters are going through too.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful. That in addition to the networking connections I made while I was working for insurance. I knew all of the shops that are in this area on a first name basis since I had done negotiations with them for several years.
That is so great.
It was like very fortuitous.
You're basically like plug and play for this position, doing like basically just ADAS calibrations, right? I mean, you can kind of see the target in the background, gives you an idea of like, okay, this is a little different. This is not your typical automotive shop, not your typical automotive job. But I mean, you guys are doing, basically helping body shops for the most part, right?
Those are our main customers. We don't do any retail work. We're strictly business to business. I'd say probably 80% of our customers are body shops. The other 20 are mechanical shops.
So cool. Oh, and mechanical shops too. Wow.
Because we do a lot of programming. And if you're replacing a module that requires programming, you'll need the OE software in order to do that most of the time.
Yeah, and not every shop is going to have that, right? Because it's so specific and
very expensive. You have to have the dedicated hardware as well as the software.
Right. So this is like a tech job.
Oh, it absolutely is. It is high tech. It is as high tech as it gets for the automotive repair industry, at least. We have to stay on the cutting edge of all the new systems that are being implemented on these vehicles. I mean, we even have dealerships sending us calibration work because they either don't have the space, the training, or the tools to actually get any of it done.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so anyway, I'm sorry. Back to you. Like, it's really easy to go down these rabbit holes, right? But like, that's great that you came with your own network because like everybody kind of knows everybody in the automotive industry. The world is like, it seems smaller and smaller every day, even though it is growing. So it's just one of those strange things. But like, there's not a whole lot of women in the field, right? So like, what is sort of, I don't know, what have you seen personality-wise as far as the female techs you have come across, in the past?
Right. So I've only really met one female body tech, and I actually was so impressed with her, I ended up hiring her last month. She is doing fantastic. She is actually the manager at our second shop in Fairfax, and she's using all of that collision repair knowledge to really help diagnose vehicles and to get them calibrated correctly. She is extremely intelligent and motivated. You have to be a woman who succeeds in this field because it's not easy. I'm trying to make it so it's a little bit easier for women when they get thrown into this stuff. You do have to kind of prove yourself as soon as you walk into a room.
Right. And it's funny because when I think about, okay, I got into the field like 20 years ago, people, right? Okay, so when I think about like, back in the day, I love to say these things to my students now, it was common for people to have to prove themselves coming in the door. Okay, this is like guys, gals especially, there's going to be another level up because they're going to be a little extra suspicious that, some things like, is she going to be strong enough
to
lift this
that?
tire?
Yep.
I mean, entire wheel assemblies are getting huge and heavy now. Like it's way more than what,
especially the low profile ones, like 22-inch rims and things like that.
Yes, and you can't make mistakes on anything now. Like a mistake now is like very costly. Honest mistake can happen, and it is physical. It is, mentally also an exercise too.
Right.
And then of course you've got, the shop culture going on, which, I mean, honestly, like that's why I got into the field is for the shop culture. I kind of love it. Right?
Because I always thought I would be in a corporate or an academic setting or something like that, where you have to be more reserved. I mean, we goof around all the time. We use dirty words occasionally, and the shop talk is really fun as long as it's not discriminating against anybody or harassing anybody, which definitely happens in some shops.
It definitely happens in some shops. Like people don't know their boundaries yet. That takes a little bit of training sometimes. Like we start in one place, and then as you develop a relationship with someone, you get to know them, and then you're like, oh yeah, I see why that's not, you can't do that.
Right. That is an actual person and not just something I can make comments about.
That is, yes. Okay, so with men in the industry, like, there's that stereotypical, like, greasy Joe mechanic, okay, who's just like every other word out of his mouth is like F-bomb, something with 4 letters.
He's got the pinup calendar in his toolbox with the naked ladies.
Yes, the whole 9, right? I mean, just think about like, okay, time travel back to 1970, right? Like this is still the image, but like what do you mostly see?
I've seen Some of those people, for sure, absolutely.
They are still in the field, yes.
But I'd say the majority of the men that I've encountered have been very complex individuals, very intelligent a lot of the time. They might be a little bit actually dirty and greasy, but that's the nature of the job.
Yeah.
And they got into this because they want to fix things physically with their hands. They're usually very helpful. They like to solve puzzles. And there is a huge amount of intelligence that has to come, especially with diagnosing vehicles. I think a lot of mechanics are dismissed as being kind of stupid, like they couldn't find a better job and that's why they're in this. And that's just not the case at all, especially with the amount of money you can make in this field.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
People don't realize.
People have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
No clue. If
you
you
can absolutely
like cars,
make $100,000 plus a year
yes.
if you're a decent mechanic.
Yes. If you like cars, just do it.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, don't waste your time. It's not that much of an investment. Just go. Okay? Give it a shot.
Yep.
You know, and then you'll get to see what it's like out there in the real world. But yeah, so I kind of experienced the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just some of the smartest people I know are mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my mentor, for example, he's into all kinds of stuff, okay? Like, not just cars,
mm-hmm.
but, you know, woodworking, astrophotography. He's got an astro shed.
Oh, wow.
Like, literally the top opens up. There's, like, this telescope that comes out. He's tracking the night sky. He's compiling pictures on his computer. He would, like, rebuild people's, you know, computers back in the day when they were, like, rebuildable and everything. You know, so, yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And, like, I love the guys. Yeah. Like, I love being with the guys. You know, they're so great. I don't know that I don't want less guys. I just want more women.
Right,
you know,
right.
Does that
more
make
equal
sense?
distribution. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially with the younger guys, there's been like a generational shift on how they treat women in the workplace and their expectations of women in the workplace. I honestly have faced the most discrimination and harassment from regular retail customers rather than coworkers.
Yes. Yes, and I've actually faced, okay, ladies, listen, I faced more discrimination from other women
too, yeah,
than I have from guys.
Yeah.
So you know what, guys, you're doing a good job. We love you. We want to hang out with you more. We want to work with you, okay? So, like, why aren't there more women in automotive? Like, I mean, you know, the culture, sure, there's, you know, your guy or two, you know, mm-hmm. you got to have to kind of sift out here and there. Like, you got to hold your ground.
Right.
But, like, overall, it's pretty good, at least nowadays. So, like, what's the deal?
Women are not encouraged to pursue this, especially from a young age. Like, when you're a girl in even elementary school, you're kind of just shuffled into the softer, more comfort fields or the humanities, that sort of thing. So you don't even realize the potential that you may have exploring something in the trades. I was never even taught by my father how to drive. He had my mom handle it, so he never taught me how to drive stick like he did with my siblings. And in school, if you're really good at writing or reading, they automatically fast track you to be in a sort of humanities role, which happened to me. And I still love writing and reading.
Yeah.
But I had no idea I could do something so hands-on, something so technical, especially when I had pretty bad grades in math class.
You know what? That is so funny you say that, because like a lot of my students, they will like fail the math stuff. Okay, and this is not calculus, okay? But they have a harder time in math than in English, mm-hmm. you know? So actually, people who are like creative thinkers, they tend to be problem solvers Absolutely. Too. Mm-hmm. And like, it's a good fit. I mean, especially on the collision side, if you're really artistic, like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a practical application.
On the collision side, you have to be able to recreate kind of how the accident happened and picture what all was impacted and shifted and moved within the 2 seconds that the impact actually occurred. So it doesn't mean you have to be good at math or geometry or physics to be able to do that. You kind of have to be intuitive about how things move, and it doesn't mean you can pass a test in calculus.
Right. So this is more like intuition, mm-hmm. imagination, yeah. Right? I mean, some of those characteristics we normally ascribe to being female, mm-hmm. so it's like, okay, wait a minute. Now I'm even more confused.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like, I think we kind of maybe discussed this at some point, but like, I agree with that. Like, growing up, for some reason, and no one ever told me this, mm-hmm. but it was like, I was looking at, you know, commercials for kids' toys, right?
Right.
And I'm like, man, why do the boys have all the cool toys. Like,
Why do they get to be astronauts and I have to be a fake kitchen?
I know, it's like, okay, the remote control car is like way cooler than Barbie's car. Okay, like why can't Barbie's car be remote control?
Right.
Anyway, let's not go down that road. That's a whole nother situation. So this is like, you know, a pretty good gig. So how can we get more women in here?
So if we're looking at it, say, like from an employer's point of view,
Yeah.
obviously you're not going to be going to middle schools and encouraging little girls to get into cars. You're going to be looking at the actual job force and who's there. There's been a lot of employers who will get a woman's resume and they'll kind of just toss it for a number of reasons. It could just be they don't think that they're good enough to be a technician or that they're not strong enough. What's happened to me personally is getting denied from a job because they think that some of their technicians are kind of creepy towards women in the past. And so they don't want to have to deal with that internalized drama that they have. And rather than fixing their actual issue, they're kind of victim blaming a hypothetical recipient of any sort of harassment because they don't want to deal with any lawsuits or things like that.
I couldn't agree more. That does need to be taken care of. Like,
right.
Like everybody has to get almost at the same time. Okay, everybody needs to, like, this is my opinion, just get it together. Like, okay, nobody's going to tolerate any of this stuff anywhere. So then that person doesn't have another place to go. And then they're going to have to.
Yeah, if it's a collective effort, then you won't have techs who think they can just get away with doing whatever because they know that there will be actual consequences if they leave and try to find another job.
Right.
Instead of just continuing to let it slide because they have this valuable skill. Because what happens when they age out? Who would you have to replace them?
Then you're in even deeper trouble than you are now. Okay, so Bethany, like, that was really awesome.
Thank you.
And this has like really opened up the door for a whole series on this topic alone. And I'm hoping to, like, you know, get some other women to talk to too, but like maybe I could come back sometime.
Sure.
And we could maybe.
I could even bring Kay in. She's the woman I hired who used to be a body tech and is now running my other location. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to speak with you as well.
Kay would be awesome. We need her. We need them all. I think we'll see you again later.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you.